Lord Cameron says Donald Trump's Russian invasion comments are not sensible. NATO allies are fearful that the former U.S. president's remarks have exposed more than just weaknesses in spending plans. Lord Cameron condemned Donald Trump's comments inviting Russia to invade NATO allies who do not meet defense spending targets on Monday as not sensible, joining a chorus of international voices. Furious over the former president's remarks. In what appeared to suggest the Foreign Secretary was breaking ranks with the government's position, a spokesman for No. 10 later said Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, had faith the U.S. would continue to be a supportive NATO ally no matter who wins the country's elections later this year. Lord Cameron, who has previously been touted to lead the transatlantic military alliance, also used much stronger language when addressing the issue of countries meeting the 2% of GDP defense spending target. "I am a very strong supporter of NATO," he said. "It is what helps keep us safe, and that is so essential in this world where we have seen Putin's terrible invasion of Ukraine. And actually NATO this year has got stronger, with Sweden and Finland joining. Of course we want countries, like us, to spend 2%, but I think what was said was not a sensible approach," the Foreign Secretary said in response to Mr. Trump's outburst. The former president made the comments at a rally last Saturday while recounting a conversation he claims he had with the leader of a big country in NATO. "I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them, Russia, to do whatever they want. You gotta pay," said Mr. Trump. During his tenure in the White House, Mr. Trump often accused European nations of being over-reliant on the U.S. to underpin the continent's security since the end of the Cold War. Figures published by NATO for last year revealed just 10 European nations of the alliance's 31 members had spent 2% on defense, an ambition set in 2014. At an alliance summit in 2018, Mr. Trump singled out Germany, then led by Angela Merkel, for criticism, complaining Europe's largest economy was not pulling sufficient weight to defend the continent. With the threat posed by Russia, as many as 15 NATO allies have set out plans to ensure they hit the target this year, including Berlin for the first time. Olaf Scholz, the German chancellor, said on Monday that his government had signed enough contacts to meet the demand placed on NATO allies as part of a planned €100 billion overhaul of the country's military. But NATO allies were fearful that Mr. Trump had exposed more than just weaknesses in spending plans. Article 5 questioned. Privately, diplomats said the former president had called into question the alliance's Article 5 mutual defense clause, a promise that America would deploy to defend its European allies against Russian aggression. The article, which is at the core of the alliance, has no legal standing, and is simply an article of faith placed in every member. Washington became the only capital to trigger the defense clause when it encouraged allies to come together to fight Islamist terror in the wake of 9/11. European Union leaders were on Monday planning to further ramp up plans for the bloc to be able to defend itself without help from America. There is no alternative to the EU, NATO, transatlantic cooperation. Europe must become a safe continent, and this means that the European Union, France and Poland must become strong and ready to defend their own borders and to defend and support our allies and friends from outside the Union, Donald Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister, said in a joint statement with Emmanuel Macron, the French president. Josep Borrell, the EU's top foreign diplomat, when asked about Mr. Trump's comments, said, "NATO cannot be an à la carte military alliance, depending on the humor of the President of the U.S." Thierry Breton, the EU's internal market commissioner responsible for its defense overhaul, said the bloc was focused on needing to boost its own military spending. "We cannot flip a coin about our security every 4 years depending on this or that election, namely the U.S. presidential election," he told French broadcaster LCI.